Welcome! I'm so glad you're here. I'm Erica Johns from enrichmentstudies.com, and that's a place where I help homeschool families incorporate more fine arts into their homeschool. I'm also the mother of 6 children, ages 15 to 25. I have 5 boys and a girl, and we started homeschooling all the way back when our oldest was in kindergarten. So we're now finishing up our 20th year since we began, which is hard to believe because it doesn't feel like I'm even old enough for that to be real. But you know what? My 2 oldest children are married now. My 3rd child has graduated, and I only have 3 high schoolers left. So time marches on, and it's amazing. Even though you know it's going to happen, it still feels unreal. My 2 oldest children are both married. My oldest child, a son, he serves now in the U.S. Air Force, and he is the proud dad to my lovely little granddaughter who's almost 4, and they've got another little grandbaby on the way. And then my 2nd child, my daughter, my only daughter, she is now married, and she has a sweet little baby boy who is 6 months old now, and fortunately they're not in the Air Force, so they live nearby, so we get to see them pretty often. Three down, 3 to go as far as getting them to adulthood. So there's only 3 more years that I have of my homeschooling career, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And you know, when I see other homeschool moms and all their kids are like under 15 or under 12 or under 10, and it's kind of amazing to think like that was what my life was like just 10 or so years ago. And it's just amazing to see how many things change and how much the kids grow. It's so exciting and challenging and beautiful, and it's just so cool that we get to go through life with the people that we love the most, and that homeschooling gives us what I always say the greatest gift that homeschooling provides us is the gift of time with the people that we love so much. And definitely as I'm getting older and my kids are getting older, I see the value of that even more. And so I'm excited to be here with you today, and excited to get to spend some time encouraging you and sharing with you a little bit about some things that have worked for me. So today I would like to talk to you for a little while about a challenge and a solution that I figured out of my own need, and that's how to make art appreciation a natural part of your homeschool. Like a lot of homeschool moms, and maybe you can identify with this, for many years I had these ideas that our homeschool would have, classical music playing in the background, and we'd have, art up, and we'd just be kind of in this lovely dreamlike state where we'd have these really nice things happening with art and music and poetry. And it was like so inspiring and lovely and enjoyable to think about. It was my ideal kind of, that I wanted to include those things. But what would happen is I'd get around to each year where I'd be ordering all the curriculum for the coming year, and so I'd need all the math and the language arts and the sunlight core and all the science materials and everything else. And like by the time I saw how much that was going to be for however many kids I was schooling that year, it just seemed like I couldn't justify adding on $100 or more for a composer or artist curriculum or something. And really, like, the truth was I was so busy that I knew I wasn't going to get to those things anyhow if it was something I actually had to like teach and have energy for and plan for. every now and then I'd be like, this is the time, we're gonna do this, I'm gonna get this done. And the school day would just be so full, and you've got your babies and your toddlers and the rascally little boys, and everybody's rowdy, and you're just lucky to get through the basic stuff with your sanity intact, or just maybe only halfway intact. And there just never seemed to be the time or the energy to add those extras in. You know what I mean? Or occasionally I would get something, and when I would get it, it wasn't the right time to use it, so I'd put it on the shelf, and most of the time I forgot I even had it. Sometimes it would be like years later, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I bought this thing, and I never got around to using it. And it just, the years just went by, and and when the kids were little, I thought like, oh, well, it'll get easier when they're bigger, and I won't worry about it, and we'll just, another year, we'll get it all figured out. And that year didn't come. And you think it's going to get easier, but it just is different. And so yes, there's some things that are easier, but it's replaced by like another aspect that you didn't know was coming. And one day I thought to myself, like, I need to figure something out about this, because these kids are going to grow up and like never have this stuff if I don't find a way to make it happen. And it can be tempting to just skip it, because knowing the name of the Mona Lisa or the sounds of Mozart when you hear them, it's not like it's like a make it or break it issue in life like knowing to read is. But the thing is, being exposed to beautiful works of art of all types, not just like painting type art, but products of creativity, all of that, I believe, makes a difference in the heart and soul and mind of a person. And when you give your kids beautiful, interesting, thought-provoking forms of art to absorb, it can positively affect everything else. I really believe that. I love this quote from the poetry anthology, The Harp and the Laurel Wreath by Laura Berquist. Here's what it says. It's a temptation for a person who is homeschooling children to save fine arts appreciation for days when religion, English, mathematics, science, history, geography, literature, and penmanship are all finished. The problem, of course, is that all these things seldom get done. Therefore, the introduction of beautiful pictures, great music, and excellent poetry remains an activity to do someday. And this is a mistake, because the appreciation of fine arts is formative for the soul. The old adage, you are what you eat, could be changed truthfully to say, you are what you see and hear. The models in one's imagination and memory become a part of the soul and affect all the rest of life. If the soul holds good, true, beautiful, noble, and heroic images, it will be inclined to love those things. Right? And I knew that I wanted that for my kids. And so I set about first to look around for ideas, and then I ended up also creating some solutions as well. I just knew that there was a need to bring more of the beauty of fine arts into our lives in a way that was also realistic, and affordable. And so today, I'd like to talk to you about how you can do that, how you can make art appreciation a natural part of your homeschool life in a way that's very affordable, but also very effective and joyful. Okay? So the first thing that I want to talk about is just having art on display in your home. Okay, this is one of the easiest ways. And I just want to say something like kind of at the start of this, especially when you're in teach mode, it can be very easy to start to feel like you have to actively be right in there teaching everything. And I just want to say, especially when it comes to the arts, I believe it's possible to overdo it and actually kind of ruin it by over teaching. Art and the arts in general is a wonderful gift because it's so enriching to the soul for you and your kids, and it's best if you can let it do its work, let it present itself, and just let your child have their experience with it without you having to have a lot of input and add a lot of facts and information. So let's just dig in here. It's good. This is going to be one of your favorite things to do. So a lot of times I find that families have art books, like coffee table books type stuff. I've picked up some over the years through like used book sales or at like a used bookstore. Like this is one of our longtime favorites. Here's another. Can you see that? Let me show you another that I've got here. Got this huge Monet's, water lilies, and I've got others. I keep my eyes open at yard sales, used book sales, just when they go on sale, whatever. I'm just always kind of have my antenna up for something like that. A lot of people have these. A lot of times you get like kind of a coffee table book maybe as a gift or something, but especially when you've got little kids, like a lot of times nothing's on the coffee table because they're gonna like get sticky hands or tear the pages or something, and so you don't necessarily have them out anymore. And so they end up on the bookshelf. And so what I want to say about that is that a spine is not attractive to kids, okay? When they just see that lined up on the shelf, that doesn't mean anything to them, especially if they don't read or if they don't know what this is, okay? And so you really need to get the books out and make them alluring to your kids. Have you ever been to your public library and you've seen how they'll have the books out on display, like on the tops of the shelves? Maybe it'll be like fall, and so the librarians have gone through and they've pulled books off the shelf and they've got them all, propped open and standing there, and you come in and it's like a theme, and oh my goodness, look at all these books, and you can see the cover art and it draws you right in, right? I mean, I bet you they have to refill those all the time because those are the books that get checked out like that because it's attractive, it's inspiring. You're like, what is in here? Tell me about this. So this is what I want you to figure out how you can do in your home with these books, okay? And let me say another thing. If you don't own any books like this, borrow some from the library. Get 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever each time that you go, and just start having a rolling exhibit of art books, okay? And, especially like this type, probably the children's section of your library might still have those. They're great, and those are like curated images, especially for children, things that someone thought kids will like this, kids will be interested in this. So just start trying. And I will say, it's great to have something that like specifically says for kids, but don't be so limited because they're open. Kids are sponges, they're so interested in everything, and you never know what is going to spark their interest. So just get a variety of stuff. Get things you're not sure if they'll like. Get things from different cultures. Get stuff, that you're not even sure if you like it. But just borrow it and see what happens. So anyways, you're gonna get these books out on display and they're gonna get attention, right? So you maybe have a shelf where you can do this, or one thing that I've done, I'll show you, is a couple years ago purchased a book easel from Amazon, and let me get it here so I can show you what I'm talking about. Well, like this is a Norman Rockwell book that I got. Let me show you my book easel. So this is, you kind of see it's adjustable so you can change the angle. This is a wooden one, and I want to say it was called like Frisia or something like that on Amazon. And let me show you, this is nice, these little holder doodads. Let me see if I can do this in a way that makes it easy for you to see how it works. We've got like a side table in our living room where this is always sitting, and you can just open up your book, and these hold your pages open. So this is the next thing, is even better than just having the book where you can see the cover, is open up and show the pages with something like a book easel. You could probably just open up a book by itself, but this is a little more stable. So this is just something nice that you can do, is like, I thought of as like a gift to my homeschool to do this. But get these books open. You can turn, a page every day or two or whatever, and get to start showing the kids what's in there. You can, maybe you have it on the kitchen counter. I actually have one little art easel on our bathroom counter because we have a long counter and my kids aren't little where it's like a giant splash fest anymore. So I've got small pieces of art, and like almost every day I change what's on display there. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, but just like get it out there where they can see it and start to interact with it. You could do something organized, like focus on an artist or a type of work for a while. So like, for instance, if you had a book like this, it's like all one artist. So maybe you just have this in your book easel and you just go, every day or so, and you just open up a different page. And, and I'm not saying, when I say like the less is more thing, less is more, but I'm not saying like you can't say anything about it, but you just don't need to make it a big like lesson plan and, and like, hey children, let's all sit down and have me tell you about this thing. Like, just put it out there, be like, hey, this is cool, and start to just let the kids experience it. You know her, right? I think this is a great way to go because then the kids start to get a feel for the work of one artist in general. But I have a different book that's like just Impressionism in general, and so it's all different Impressionist artwork within the book. It doesn't matter. It's literally all good, and there's no way to do this wrong. Just put the art out, okay? Let's see. And if you feel like this is something you can't manage, make it a job for one of your kids, or just let them decide, if they want to turn the page, this should be joyful. So many people kind of get stuck in this spot where they feel like the arts are very formal and stuffy or aloof or something. The awesome thing about good art is it's like stands the test of time, and it speaks to the heart and soul of humans, through so many different cultures and places and time periods. Just share it and be happy about it. And if the kids are interacting, it's good. That's it. And you know what? It's good for you too. I think of arts as like a vitamin for the soul, truly. This is just such a great way to set the stage. So when I'm saying to you the concept of making art appreciation a natural part of your home life, this is what I'm talking about. Getting some practices in place that just are second nature, and they become a backdrop of your family culture, okay? And so this is just very, very simple. And like I said, you can do this with no money, just a library card, or, just keep your eyes open. You don't need to have a bunch of stuff to start this. You can have one book from the library or one book that you've got on your shelf and just begin. It's fine. Over the years, you're going to accumulate things, or maybe for Christmas, you let somebody know, that you're interested in something like this, or you find some great book on Amazon that you want to get. Maybe a grandparent wants to get that for you guys or something, but you can just begin, and it's very, very easy. So that's my first two, is one, to have the art, and second, to get it open with these books, okay? And all right, so then my next kind of take on this idea is something that I've developed and use and love. And that's what I call fine art pages. So fine art pages are just collections of printable art that include just a small amount of information about the piece of the art, the artist, the materials and techniques and that sort of thing. And so I've got some examples. Let me show you, if you're not familiar, what it is. Here's one. It's by Horace Pippin, called Christmas Morning Breakfast. Jan Levens. Here's one by James Northcote. This man that the portrait is of was a Shakespearean actor in London, Ira Aldridge. This is called Christ Risen by Rubens. Just love that one. This is a very sweet one called Domestic Happiness. Isn't that sweet? And the artist there is Lily Martin Spencer. This one's called Children Dancing in a Ring. I love that one. Sort of reminds me of the book Heidi. Here's a Van Gogh. This one's by Henry Tanner. This is called The Disciples See Christ Walking on the Water. It's a depiction of a Bible story. This one's cute by Winslow Homer. It's called Dad's Coming. There they are on the shore waiting for Dad. This is a Brazilian eagle by John James Audubon. Now you may have noticed something about this that I think is great, and especially if you are a classical educator or you lean that way, you are familiar with the concept of the connectedness of all subjects. If you notice in these, it's more than just art. This is what? Science, nature study. Also, it's really interesting because in the Audubon collection that we have, we actually used quotes from Audubon's journals about what he had to say about his discoveries. And so it's very interesting to see what was considered to be new scientific information at this time, or animals that they hadn't been familiar with, and things like that. So it gives you a glimpse into history. So it's also historical, right? I mean, you get pictures of like people's lives in different times and places. You can, see art, like Bible stories through the eyes of different artists in different time periods, which is very interesting. And, the Bible's not illustrated, right? So it's cool to have imagery to go with the Bible stories that your children may know. This is very interesting because it's got a, I don't know if it's not really completely pointillism, but the style of this one is very, very interesting. So it's like the art itself, but also this might spark for your children an interest in a different way to create a drawing or a painting that they might never have thought of before. You get to see how people are dressed, what people are doing, how they're living their lives. How did these girls do their hair? What kind of games did they play? What kind of sensibilities were there in the culture and the time? The clothing for the babies and the parents is interesting. So it's another glimpse into history. We're such a visual culture nowadays. Everyone's got an iPhone and we're ready to record and, have a visual of everything. But in days when people had to do a portrait, it took a supreme effort to get that sort of visual record of people and the way that they lived. So it's really pretty cool to get to see snapshots of people's perspectives and how people lived from different times. Well, there's another one that goes with if you're wanting to reinforce Bible in your home. You know, such a powerful imagery for Christ's resurrection. The other thing that I love that art can do for you is it can subtly, naturally teach your children about things like, yes, there were Black people that were actors in Victorian London. It can help you break stereotypes. You know, I think a lot of people don't even realize that there's positive imagery of Black people in fine art because it tends to be so dominated by white male artists. But in truth, there's so much more. And it's important, I think, for our children to understand that the arts are for everyone. It doesn't, you know, it's not just for boys, or it's just not for, you know, certain, you know, not just for white people or whatever, but it is for everyone. And this is something that I really seek out with our collections and enrichment studies to make sure that our children do get that kind of broader perspective. You know, especially since they're home with us, you know, often that means that our children are in a very homogenous culture, right? Which would make sense because they're at home with their family. But it's important for us to have a broader kind of scope of our perspective, and art can bring that to your children as well. You know, this one, Christmas Morning Breakfast, I just love. It's by an African-American artist, Horace Pippin, and it's from 1945. And I just love that you get this glimpse of what was a Christmas morning in 1945 like. You get to see an interior of this home, and I would venture to guess that this is probably pretty different from what most of us experience. So it's so much deeper than just the art, which is why I call it enrichment studies, because literally when you're adding in the arts, it is making all of the other stuff more connected, more enriching, more sticky in your brain. And the great thing is, all those connection points are available to you. It doesn't need to go in a certain order. You don't need to stress about it. You just need to begin. And it's all a gift to your family. And so it's really cool. So let me tell you how the Fine Art Pages idea works. Basically, you print them out, you stick them up, and you watch the magic happen. I recommend that you have a printed out fine art page next to the toilet on the wall, so that when people are having a visit in the bathroom, they look over and they see some art. And voila, every person in your family now is spending a little time with art each day, and you don't have to do anything. It's not part of your lesson. You don't have to teach it. You don't even have to tell them that you're putting it up. Just put it there, surprise them. Do it at night after they go to bed or whatever. And in the morning they wake up and boom. So next to each toilet on the wall where people can see, put it in a page protector so you can wipe it off if you need to. When you're done with it, wipe it off with a cleaning wipe or whatever. Also, like on the wall at the bathroom sink, so when they're brushing their teeth, they can look at a different piece of art. If they've got desks or like a school spot where there's a place next to, on the wall where they're gonna see it, put it there. If somebody has, you know, a chore of washing the dishes, if you have wall space at the sink where you can put it up. If the kids wanna have one on the wall next to their bed, fine. Do you have a place where you change the baby's diaper? Put one up on the wall, page protector. But, you know, get one there. Any place that the eye naturally will fall at a time where you're going to be spending a few minutes, that's a perfect place for this. So it's a strategy. So this isn't the same as putting a piece of art like on display, like above the couch on the living room wall. This is more about taking advantage of a natural activity that's already happening in your home and just boosting up that time and enriching it with a fine art page. There doesn't need to be any formal lesson. You don't have to go out of your way to do anything. You don't have to include this in your school day. You can just put it up. They're gonna notice it and they're gonna like it. They're gonna be intrigued. And you'll find that probably there's conversations that naturally arise with your children of all ages just because these are up. Even like when my granddaughter was only 1 year old, she was excited to see art on the bathroom walls at my house. And when she was 2, she was already commenting about the art and asking questions about it and telling me she liked it and smiling at the art. And she was so excited every time she would come over to go to the potty and get to see the art. So, you know, no age is too young to start giving them lovely, beautiful art of all types to enjoy. So it's very simple, and I know there might be a temptation to think like, I don't know, what can that really do? Is it effective? But I believe it really is, both, you know, my own experience, and also I hear from enrichment studies families all the time saying how much they like it and how surprised they are by how responsive their kids have been to the art. So I'm going to share with you a fun email that I got from one of my people from my enrichment studies community. She says, I just had a short story to share. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and we're homeschooling. I ordered a bunch of fine art pages about a year ago, and I did what you suggested. I laminated them and hung them in a few of our bathrooms each week. And we usually talk about the art when I change the pictures, but it's nothing extensive. For such young children, mainly, I've just been going for exposure. Well, both girls became very excited when we saw 2 Matisse prints hanging in our local public library. Fine arts pages by Matisse happen to be hanging in our upstairs bathroom right now. And so I reminded the girls, oh, this artist is Matisse. And then my 4-year-old, who's always interested in the titles of the paintings, said to me, I know what that painting there is called. And then she paused and said, Dessert, Harmony in Red, she said correctly. The library security guard standing nearby nearly fell over. She was so surprised. So anyhow, I just wanted to thank you for helping expose my family to fine arts. You've truly enriched our lives, and it's making a difference in our learning. So now I don't really say that as a commercial. I just want to say it as like an example of, even with a 4-year-old, they're getting it. And it's so cool because truly, you know, when you can expose your kids to fine art, it's such a wonderful gateway into the world of art, and it's just a joy and a pleasure all along the way. And you know, with something like the fine art pages or with the books on display like I talked about, you know, there doesn't need to be any struggle or strife for anybody, including you. So it's just helping to set the stage of loving to interact with art in your home. So that is it. It's so easy. And you know, it's one of those things where you're not going to mess it up. Any effort that you make is going to be a positive one. So I offer tons of different collections of fine art pages in enrichment studies. And actually just a few months ago, I started offering already printed ones from time to time, like 3 or 4 times a year. Most of what I offer is PDF downloads that you can get and you can print yourself, but occasionally we do a bundle and we get them all printed and shipped to your door as well. So right now I'm going to have a link with, I guess below or with this video where you can go ahead and you can get a free collection of fine art pages right now. So you can just begin, get them printed out, whether you print them from your home printer or you take them to Office Depot or send them off someplace to get printed, doesn't matter. Just pick a few and I want you to start and let me know how it goes. I hope that these tips have given you some good ideas for getting started in creating a lovely culture of art appreciation in your home. And I would love for you to join me in enrichment studies if you'd like to have more encouragement about including art and music and poetry and other enriching topics in your home. And you can come to enrichmentstudies.com and connect with me there. You can sign up for our newsletter and get free stuff every month. We've got a blog, and I've got quite a lot of articles there as well. So I would love to just have you take advantage of however I can help you. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.